taking on Rummel. Hi everybody, Doug Ringard along with Renee Nato. It's been a fantastic year so far for the Raiders of Rummel, off to a perfect 4-0 start and ranked 4th in the state. The same cannot be said, however, for St. Aug. Tony Villegas and his team struggling at 1-2 in what he has called, Renee, a rebuilding season.
Yeah, but you know, if you look at these two teams, Rummel has won 6 of the last in-season games played between these two teams. But St. Aug, Doug, won a playoff game, a very meaningful game 2 years ago. So when the chips are down, St. Aug can come through. We'll see what happens tonight.
Always fun to keep our eyes on the outstanding talent on both teams. And when you talk about St. Aug, how about a young man by the name of Akeem Jalla?
Akeem Jalla, number 80, 9'4", 4'3", and you know, Doug, a few years ago, it was a sophomore and early as a junior. He had trouble catching the ball. They found out, fitted him with contact lenses. Since that time, 10 touchdown passes last year, and he is a danger to go all the way. He is committed to University of Miami.
How about Eric Smith for Rummel? Young man has carried the ball a whole lot and gotten even more yards.
You know, and it gets stronger, Doug, as the game wears on, averaging 32 carries per game. He's in the style of a Michael Burks that Rummel fans may remember. Last year, 1,234 yards to go along with 14 scores. This year in 4 games, 685 yards and 8 scores. He is a threat.
Certainly is. We've got a great football game coming up. We'll have the starting lineups and the kickoff for tonight's game, the WHNO High School Game of the Week. It's St. Aug taking on Rummel. Stick around.
The WHNO High School Game of the Week is brought to you by the Alarial Center, Prime Equipment Company, Coleman's Urban Wear, and WHNO Sports.
It's the only game in town.
This year, St. Augustine High School is celebrating its 50th anniversary. Throughout the year, St. Aug has been a beacon of excellence in New Orleans. St. Aug has educated 6 presidential scholars, 8 National Merit Scholars, and 115 National Achievement Scholars. St. Augustine continues to provide a quality education to its students. On October 29th at 6:30 p.m., visit St. Aug's open house and learn more about the legend of St. Aug excellence.
Welcome back to Joe Yenny Stadium. Doug Ringard along with Renee Nato as we get set for this District 9 5A clash between the Rummel Raiders, unbeaten so far this season, and the Purple Knights of St. Aug. St. Aug has won the toss, has elected to receive, and Sean Comiskey is kicking off for Rummel, and we're underway on another Friday night. A booming kick that was boosted by a little bit of wind, Renee, and that is where St. Aug will get underway on their own 20-yard line as we get set to get this one rolling.
It'll be interesting to see how St. Augustine begins this game. They had to set the tone, coming in kind of with their backs against the wall. Doug, haven't won a game the last 2 outings, and it's been a tough road thus far. But as we said, talked about the season between these two teams. It's really interesting.
Take a look at the lineups here for St. Aug. John Doucette at tight end, the all-Metro selection. Cager, Lawrence, Holmes, Bailey, Nunnery. Talented receiver in Jalla, as well as Burns at quarterback, and their 2 running backs, Green Ellis and Harvey. And we're getting set as St. Aug leading this series against Rummel 18-16-1. And before we even get it going, Renee, a penalty, not exactly the tone you want to set, but I think you could say we still have a lot of football ahead.
Offside on the Raiders. It'll be St. Aug will start off with their 1st and 5, and they come out, the initial play, they came out with very tight splits, Doug, which would be interesting to see. You know, they play what I call very powerful blockers up front. I'll talk about it in a second.
Burns is the quarterback for the Purple Knights of St. Aug, as it's 1st and 5 now after the penalty. Burns passing on 1st down. He's looking for Jalla, and Jalla has the grab at the 35-yard line of the Rummel Raiders. How is that for starting with a bang?
And he was in one-on-one coverage with Nick Child, who's a 4'5" sprinter himself. And Doug, that was just a fly route right down the field, a streak route. Nick Child, he got behind him, 45-yard pass and completion, and Jason Burns to Akeem Jalla kind of sets the tone here early in the game, Doug.
Certainly does. It's been a frustrating season so far after that big opening victory against McDonough, 49-0 St. Aug. They've lost 2 straight. It's a rarity for Tony Villegas' teams to do that. 1st and 10 from the Rummel 30-yard line, and the give is straight ahead, and that is Chris Hall. And Hall picks up about 5 yards on the play, maybe even 6. Take a look at the lineups. Here's for Rummel on defense. Chatelaine on the defensive line. Mills, Turner, and Cash. Cook, Williams, and Wiltz in the linebacking positions. And here's the defensive secondary led by a young man by the name of Terrence Dunbar, an outstanding player. Child, McDowell, and there you see the defensive secondary. So some talented players on both sides of the ball. And right now on the first series of this game, Burns and St. Aug on the move. Burns flushed out, and he is going to be met at the 28-yard line. Among others, Terrence Dunbar, and that defensive unit for the Raiders of Rummel.
Jance Terrio makes a stop on him, Doug. He became a little mobile, rolling right, looking for a receiver. He was ready to run, but Jance Terrio, number 38, put the stops to him right here. You can see Jason Burns dropping back, looking for a receiver. Kind of a design run. He's going to roll, and mirroring him is Jance Terrio. He's designed to watch the quarterback wherever he goes and makes an outstanding play. Does not allow him to get far up the field.
It's a loss of about 3 yards on the play. It'll be 3rd and 6 now from the 26-yard line. Backs are in the eye behind Burns, and Burns looking to pass. Pass is complete, and it'll be short of the first down as he hooks up with Ben Jarvis Green Ellis on the completion.
And Ben Jarvis Green takes the ball, a little flip out to the outside. Duggan, this is the only way you're going to bring a guy down this size. He bench presses 400 pounds, does Ben Jarvis Green Ellis. Takes a little flip out in the flat, and Stelz, Craig Stelz, from his strong safety position, hits him low around the knees, and you're going to bring him down. That is the only way. If not, you get him a little head of steam, he'll break tackles, become very powerful as he runs downhill.
It was a gain of 3, and now on 4th and 3 from the Rummel 24-yard line, St. Aug is going for it. Burns to pass. And it's complete, and they're going to call it a touchdown. Brian Burns coming up with the catch, and wow, what a play from St. Aug as they score on the opening drive and take a 6-0 lead.
He's in single coverage with Terrence Dunbar, and if you ask Rummel, this is what they want. Brian Burns, really a track 4-5 sprinter. And Jason Burns, as he's falling back, kind of airs it out, throws it up top, kind of an alley-oop situation. He comes back for the ball. Terrence Dunbar just kind of misjudged where the ball was, lost track of it. And Brian Burns comes back for the catch. Touchdown, St. Aug, and they go up 6-0 here with 9:24 to go in the first quarter.
A 75-yard drive, or actually 80 yards when you include the penalty. And now Napa Mindy, the sophomore kicker, on to produce the extra point. And it's going to miss wide left. So it'll remain a 6-0 lead for St. Aug. The Purple Knights take very little time to march downfield and score. And they take a 6-0 lead. And we'll take a break. Back with more action as the Purple Knights score first on the WHNO Game of the Week. Take another look, Renee, as we come back to Joe Yenny. Here's the catch by Brian Burns.
And you can see that Terrence Dunbar maybe misjudged that a little bit, Doug, as he came down in front of Dunbar. Dunbar anticipated him going a little bit deeper, but Jason Burns threw off his back foot and just aired it out and let Brian Burns fight it out with Terrence Dunbar, and he won that battle. But a lot of scoring's going to be through this game before it's over with.
Mendy to kick off for the St. Aug Purple Knights, and it's basically what looks like an onside kick recovered by Eddie Webb of Rummel, and Rummel will take over on their own 45-yard line. Take a look at the Rummel Raiders. As you see, their skill position guys, Russo, Gogrieve, Prescott, and others. And there you see the big guys on the line. Rappold, Weibel, and Eric Smith. We'll be talking a lot about him. Expect him to get a lot of carries. Here's the defense for the Purple Knights. We'll try to bring that back up here in just a moment. So 1st and 10 from their own 45-yard line. 9:22 remaining first quarter. If you just joined us, St. Aug marching 75 yards downfield and scoring on the first possession of the game. Prescott, the quarterback, hands off. This is Paul Berner. And Berner puts on the burners and looks like he has a first down on the first run from scrimmage for the Raiders.
And that was a bit of a surprise play. I don't think St. Augustine anticipated that. Inside handoff right here to Berner. Good block on the outside. That was Sean Villamaret, and allowed Berner to scoot up the field for a nice pickup. Showed him a first down. Call it 2nd and 1, Doug, but a nice call by the Rummel Raiders.
So it will be just a yard short, as you say, Renee. And this time it is Smith. And Smith muscles his way for the first down and gets up to the 40-yard line of St. Aug. Renee, we talked about it earlier in the pregame show, but Smith is going to get a lot of carries in this game. We certainly expect that to be the case.
Well, he carried the ball 32 times and average the last 2 outings, and really did an outstanding job. He's amassed 233 yards against St. Amant, 235 against Brother Martin, 468.
Take a look at the defense for St. Aug. Honore, Marquez, Brown, Mitchell, Johnson and Boyd, the linebackers, and the defensive backs, Stelly, Johnson, Bird, Richardson. As on 1st and 10, the Raiders of Rummel doing what they do best, and that, of course, is putting things on the ground as Berner comes up with a nice gain of about 5 yards on the play.
The Raider offensive front is pretty strong, led by Garrett Weibel, who's already committed to LSU, Stephen Mirabel, Sean Villamaret, Kyle Ulrich. He will rotate with Brignac, and Adam Gleason is a pretty stout offensive line for him and opens some pretty good holes for Smith and Berner thus far.
Casey Prescott, the quarterback for the Raiders of Rummel, as you see Williams in motion to the far side. This is Smith, and he is met at the line of scrimmage and maybe gets a yard, perhaps. Interesting about Smith, I know we'll be talking a lot about him throughout the broadcast, but young man last year, Renee, who gained a pretty good chunk of yards. Here we're going to take a look at the run here, and I'll talk about that in a moment.
Good play by number 63, Gary Johnson of St. Augustine, kind of slammed the door shut from his linebacker position on Eric Smith. Nice play by the Purple Knights.
Gained 1,234 yards last year. He has gained about 21 pounds in the offseason just by working out hard in the weight room.
Well, he's pretty strong. I tell you what, Doug, we'll talk about he's the strongest on the team. Bench presses 330, squats 470, and that's where his strength comes, from the lower body.
3rd and 4 now from the 34-yard line. Prescott rolling out. He'll tuck it in and run. And he's got the first down and just a little bit more as Casey Prescott didn't have anyone to throw to. He just made a run for it and did what he needed to do.
Pursuit applied by Gary Johnson, but Prescott is looking for a receiver, kind of freezes the defensive backs, and he's got the scootability, I call it. Not great speed, Doug, but 4.7. Takes a little shot there from Bird, but you know the thing about Prescott, he was a 2-year starter at strong safety. He understands what he's looking for in the defense. Third baseman on the baseball team, Coach Frank Cazzo, but he's a really intelligent quarterback and does a great job for the Raider offense.
St. Aug with that 6-0 lead. Prescott again on the keeper, and he'll squirt his way up to the 20-yard line for a gain of 5. Prescott, an interesting story too, 5'9", 166-pound senior, has had a very, I guess you could say, solid start to this year, completing 24 of his 39 passes for almost 400 yards, but he's a very versatile young man.
You know, and the thing is, Doug, he's a real heady kind of guy. He checks off in the line of scrimmage, but you know, he found a lot of secondary receivers for nice gains against Brother Martin last week, and he recognizes, as evidenced by the last run he just made.
They call it now 2nd down and 6 yards to go, and the ball is on the ground. And it is recovered by the Raiders of Rummel.
Another look at the play right here as Prescott pitches back to Eric Smith. Can't find the handle. Lucky to get the ball back as a lot of Purple Knights in hot pursuit, among them Dwayne Mitchell.
There's a penalty flag on the field as well. As we'll go downstairs and see what our referee Bob Taylor has to say. As the officials, Bob Taylor the referee, Byron Lockhart the umpire, head linesman Brian Lesh, line judge Thad Azor, back judge Walter Eckert. As you can see, Bob Taylor keeping us abreast. And so the penalty is on the Purple Knights of St. Aug. And that'll cost them a chunk of yardage. And this is a big one, Renee. Boy, this is 15 yards, and that'll move Rummel right down well into the red zone.
That was a dead ball, personal foul, and good look at Coach Jay Roth as he talks to his wide receiver, Darren Gilgreave. Jay Roth's done a good job. He's 58-18-0 as a head coach at Rummel.
So now 1st and 10, less than 5.5 minutes to go, first quarter. The give is Smith. Smith trying to get to the outside and unsuccessful, and it does not appear to be any gain at all. Let's hear from Jay Roth, the Rummel head coach, as we chatted with him before the broadcast here tonight.
Also looking like a very dangerous 1 and 2 St. Aug team.
Approach differently?
Yes, let these guys know, our players, that they've played John Curtis and Jesuit, which is a pretty formidable start to the season, and by no means, just don't look at their schedule. This is St. Aug we know that's battled us to 1 and 2 point games for the last 6 years.
You stay with the game plan?
Oh, yes. Definitely. Keep it on the ground, and I'm going to tell you what, if we got to get out of that, we could be in trouble.
Prescott under pressure.
Right, thanks, Jay.
And he's in trouble. Tries to throw from his knee. The ball is being batted around. And I've got to think they're going to, well, I guess they rule it incomplete, but they're allowing him to throw from one knee as a valiant effort, unless they go ahead and signal that he was down. And in fact, I believe they are going to do that and say he was down by contact.
And that was great pressure coming from defensive end Byron Honore, who, if you recognize that name from St. Augustine fans, his dad was on the 1975 team that went 15-0, was an all-state performer as offensive guard, and he does a great job from his defensive end position. Southern, Grambling, and Texas Southern are among his suitors, the 6'2", 220-pound senior defensive end.
Third down, 22 yards to go. Inside 4 minutes to go, first quarter. St. Aug with a 6-0 lead. And this is Prescott. He's going to throw, and he's going deep for the end zone. Smith is his intended receiver, and he is overthrown, and that'll bring up fourth down as Rummel tries to go for the money.
Really good inside coverage by Jonathan Stelly, the cornerback for the St. Augustine Purple Knights. He's on that 4x4 relay team. Kept real good position, Doug. Kept the inside position on him, and really did a great job of keeping Eric Smith out of a good position to catch the ball. And it's now a fourth down. The Raiders are going for a field goal.
And this field goal will be a 42-yard attempt as Sean Comiskey is going to give it his best shot. Great pressure from St. Aug. Plenty of distance, and it is good. 42-yard field goal for Sean Comiskey as the Rummel Raiders get on the board. 3:42 remaining first quarter. It's 6-3 St. Aug on the WHNO High School Game of the Week. Comiskey kicking off, and this one will not have a return for St. Aug. And Rene, after a 40, what they're calling a 43-yard field goal, that would be a career long for Sean Comiskey.
He had a 42-yarder against Hannon, and they feel like his comfortable around 45 yards and in. So that's right in his range, 43-yarder, and he was kicked under a lot of pressure. And St. Augustine has the ball now. They marched down the field the last time they had the ball, and driving 75 yards for a score. And Jason Burns was pretty hot with his receivers last series.
Jay Roth's Rummel defense allowing less than 14 points a game. They've given up 6, and they did that on the first series. So Jason Burns, one of just 4 returning starters on offense for St. Aug, is at the controls. And this is Ben Jarvis Green, and the big guy tries to get some extra yards, and we've got a penalty flag, and it looks like it probably will be an unsportsmanlike conduct.
I think it was Chris Hall with the carry that time, Ben Jarvis Green, the up back. And it may be a little extracurricular activity from the Rummel Raiders, going to give St. Augustine a little better field position here, Doug. And Hall was kind of slammed to the ground, and maybe the officials felt like there was a little extra hitting that was unnecessary.
As you see the sideline, Jay Roth and his assistants for the Rummel Raiders. Both of these teams advanced well into the postseason last year, Rene. So, you know, while Tony Villegas says it's a rebuilding year, he was joking before the game. He says, we don't get rebuilding years at St. Aug.
Well, you know, they sent 15 players to the college level. We'll talk about some of them, but they played West Monroe and lost in the semifinals last season.
And, of course, Rummel advancing to the quarterfinals before losing. Burns at quarterback, looking deep. He's got Jala, and Jala can't handle it. It bounces off his shoulder pads and off his chest, and he was 6. It had 6 written all over it as Jala, University of Miami bound, was good as gone.
And he does another fly pattern against Nick Jala. He's in single coverage, and McDowell can't get over there quick enough from his free safety position. Bounces off Jala's shoulder pads, and you can hear the Rummel Raider faithful breathe a sigh of relief as he was touchdown bound, had a step or two on Nick Jala. Nick Jala is a 4.5 sprinter, so you can imagine how quick Akeem Jala explodes off the line of scrimmage.
Got to be a little bit surprised also by the passing so far from St. Aug as they have gone to the air considerably. Burns has got some time. Now he's got pressure. Still on his feet. And he is out of bounds at the 40, and he is popped down there as he takes a shot from Damon Wiltz. Also heard from our good friend Tony Villegas, the 17th year head coach at St. Aug, as Alexander Laurent had a chance to visit with him.
Coach, how you taking a look at this game?
Well, we feel like this is a must-win situation for us. Early in the year, you know, we already had 1 district loss, and 2 losses in our district pretty much puts you out of it. So this is definitely a must-win situation for us here tonight.
How do you attack this game? Anything different?
Well, we just got to get better fundamentally. You know, our problem the first couple of weeks has not been game plan or assignments, but more not being fundamentally sound in spots and not reading keys in spots. You know, we have an inexperienced football team that's kind of told on us the first 2 weeks. So we're looking tonight to get better fundamentally and get better in terms of reading keys and assignments and being where we're supposed to be.
Chris Hall with a big gain there on a 3rd down play as St. Aug keeps the drive alive. Good play calling there from St. Aug.
You know, that option play, Rummel played it pretty well, and it was a nice pickup by Hall. Matt Shanlane came in from his defensive end position, and when you play that option, everyone has to do his job. The defensive end has to play the quarterback, which he did. And Burns took the hit, but pitched the ball back, and Hall with a nice pickup. 1st and 10 for St. Augustine.
And that one is spotted at their own 49-yard line. 2:20 to go, first quarter. And it's definitely not a delay of game, Rene. There were still 3 ticks on the play clock.
Ball start. Offense. Still 1st down.
As you hear the call from the referee, Bob Taylor. Ball start. That'll push St. Aug back 5 yards as we approach the 2-minute mark. So now 1st and 15 as we're at exactly 2 minutes to go, first quarter. Burns from his own 44 and straight ahead to give. Once again, that's Chris Hall. This game brought to you in part by Prime Equipment Company, distributors of man lifts, tower generators, scissor lifts, and more for commercial and industrial contracting. If you need a lift, call Prime Equipment Company at 348-2841. That's 348-2841.
That was Ben Jarvis Green, Doug, coming up the middle, and he was met by Mitch Graff. When you see Mitch Graff in the game, he's the nickel back. He's number 80. He's a guy who will either blitz or fill for the run, and he did a good job. 148 pounds, really waylaid or put a hit on Ben Jarvis Green and didn't allow him to get a good head of steam.
Second down, 11 to go, and that is John Doucette. And Doucette close to another first down.
As Doucette just a little delay and right into the middle, finds us a little, finds an open spot and just kind of sits down right there. Doucette pulls it in, and Doucette is probably one of the best tight ends, if not in the state, probably one of the better ones in the South. He's 6'3", 240, has offers from Florida State, Michigan, LSU, Georgia Tech have some interest in him, along with Clemson. Auburn really likes him, and he's going to be a fine catch with 4.55 speed, John Doucette.
And as you can see, St. Aug coming up just really inches short of that first down, so that'll bring up 3rd and 1. And of course, you talk about Doucette, an all-metro selection here, preseason, and he's really some experience on a St. Aug team that's got some young players who are going to be good players, Tony Villegas says, but not quite there yet.
And you know, Doug, he's had to do everything. It's kind of like pitch in and do what you had to do. Doucette's had to move into interior line in the past to kind of beef up the blocking a little bit. Very unselfish player. He's going to be a fine player on the next level.
So now 3rd and 1. This may be the last play of the first quarter. Burns on the handoff. They try to get the one. It doesn't look like they got it. And they are pushed back as Rummel's defense rises to the occasion. As down at the bottom of the pile was who?
There was a pile of red jerseys, but Ben Jarvis Green with good body lean might have gotten it on a good effort, and the Purple Knights are going to continue with under 30 ticks here to go in the first stanza.
So it was enough to get the first down. And they've got about 15 seconds to get the last play of the first quarter off. And they may just let it run out. They can't. They've got to get the play off. Burns does with just 1 on the clock. That's Doucette. And Doucette, the big guy, with a gain of 9 as he comes up with a nice catch. And we're calling it an end of the first quarter as time runs out. 6-3, the Purple Knights of St. Aug leading the Rummel Raiders, and St. Aug threatening to score once again. Back with second quarter action on the WHNO High School Game of the Week. The WHNO High School Game of the Week is brought to you in part by the Ilario Center, by Prime Equipment Company, Coleman's Urbanware, AAA Trophies, and St. Augustine High School, celebrating 50 years of excellence. The Purple Knights of St. Aug leading this game as they scored on the first possession, marching 75 yards downfield. And now once again, to start the second quarter, they've kept some drives alive. 2nd down and 2, the ball on the 32 of Rummel. Burns under pressure, and he is brought down. That was Jeff Turner coming in from his defensive tackle position, the 5'11", 232-pound senior, getting the sack.
And Jeff Turner, really, he's one of these guys, Doug, that empties his bucket, gives you everything he has. He's a 2-year starter, plays really hard. He's spent after every game, really team player, and he's not a real big guy. 5'11", 232, gives you everything he has. He's a senior and really been a great addition to this Rummel Raider defense.
There is a timeout on the field. It'll be 3rd and 9. As I believe the reason we've got a timeout, they've had a clock problem. They've got to get squared away here to start the second quarter. Do want to remind you that if you'd like a VHS copy of tonight's game or any of the WHNO High School games of the week, send a check or a money order for just $25 to WHNO TV 20, 1100 Jefferson Davis Parkway, New Orleans, Louisiana, 70125. Treasures for however long the tape lasts, Renee. Watch it over and over. People have been known to wear them out.
It's really a good matchup between these two teams, Doug. And boy, when I tell you, when Rummel and St. Augustine get together, it's always an interesting matchup. St. Augustine holding an advantage in the overall series, but as we mentioned in pregame, Rummel won the last 6 games played in season, but St. Augustine won a very meaningful playoff game 2 years ago, and it's kind of left a bad taste in the mouth of the Rummel Raiders. But I tell you, St. Augustine, with their backs against the wall, is a must-win for them, as talked about by Coach Tony Vegas. They have a 6-3 advantage here with 11:30 to go here in the second quarter.
Rummel coming off a fantastic year last year. They went 10-0 in the Catholic League, won the championship, and then lost to Shaw in the quarterfinals. They have won 15 straight regular season games. 3rd and 9, Burns with pressure, and he'll try to make a run for it. And he's up to about the 37-yard line and a gain of maybe about 2 yards on the play.
That tackle made by Donnie Cook. Let me tell you, it's an interesting story about Donnie Cook. Doug, he's a 5'9", 186-pound sophomore. He is the first freshman to ever start in the season opening game with the Rummel Raiders, and he's from his strong safety position. He gives you 110%. For you Rummel Raider fans, he reminds you a little bit of a James Williams who patrolled the linebacker corps for the Rummel Raiders a few years ago, but he's going to be a good one, Donnie Cook.
Rummel calls a timeout, 10:56 remaining here in the second quarter, and we'll take a timeout. It's 6-3, St. Aug leading Rummel on the WHNO High School Game of the Week. Yards to go for St. Aug as David Boyd to punt stands directly at midfield, and he will punt. And back there to return, no, instead of let it go right over his head is Terrence Dunbar. And Rummel will start on their own 20-yard line. You don't want Dunbar to try to get a return, and I think that's been the game plan for St. Aug.
He's been an all-state performer last year, and he's a good one, Doug. He's mainly as a defensive back, but he's got some qualities as a really a good running back, and you may see him there before the evening is over. He's had something like 500 yards last year, and we'll talk a little bit more about his abilities, but what probably the best athlete on the Rummel Raider team.
Renee, we might even see him on offense because they would like to see him get some carries. He had against Arrett a kickoff return for 91 yards and then a punt return for 49 yards within a 2-minute span.
He had 451 yards and 5 touchdowns last year as a part-time player.
That is Smith, and Smith struggles to get back to the line of scrimmage. Just 14 offensive rushing yards for Rummel in the first quarter, Renee.
And you know, the thing about, Rummel is and Eric Smith right now is favoring his left arm, and that's not good news for Raider fans. We may wind up seeing Terrence Dunbar sooner than we anticipated. Eric Smith, if they lost his services even for a short time, Doug, that would really be a big blow to this offense. He gets stronger as the game wears on, and one of the stronger players on the Rummel Raider team. We talked about it in the pregame, a lot like a Michael Burks who played for the Rummel Raiders a few years ago.
Smith with 462 yards rushing in the last 2 games for Rummel. And as we said, they've struggled to run the football so far early in this game, and now Smith still down on the field as he's being tended to.
And he's got a future with Southern Mississippi, Baylor, Vanderbilt, among his suitors, LSU, Northwest Louisiana, ULL, and University of Louisiana Monroe are hoping he'll become one of their attend their school for his future playing dates. And good look at Eric Smith as he comes on the sidelines, and we hope it's just a sprain of some kind.
And he looks to be in a great deal of pain as he's wincing and holding his left wrist. Let's see if we can get Alexander Laurent over there to get a sideline report on his status. So Rummel going without Smith. For how long, we do not know. Dunbar is now back there, and we talked about his skills as well. 2nd and 11 to go after the loss of 1, and that is Dunbar. And Dunbar, nice move to the outside, and he's up to the 25 and a gain of 6 on the play.
You know, Dunbar, we talked about it, had in excess of 200 yards against Shaw last year. It averaged 7.5 yards per tote with 5 touchdowns. Doug, he's one of the best. He is the best athlete on the team, and Rummel has never had a junior as an all-state performer, which he was last year, and he uses his body very, very well, and a little jitterbug move. Bench presses 340, squat 495. He's a total package, and he'll make a great college player. We'll talk about who's interested in him.
3rd and 5 from the 25. Dunbar breaking free. Terrence Dunbar, 75 yards on the touchdown as he has become the big play threat in the city.
And you know, this is the pretty thing about this. Great seal block right there. Great seal block by Mirabel. Now Terrence Dunbar breaks it. He's running downhill, protects the ball. When he realizes he's away from everybody, he puts it in after gear. You got somebody chasing him, Doug. You got some pretty swift defensive players in pursuit right here, and one of them being Jonathan Stelly and Kendall Aguilar. Cannot catch him. 80-yard run for the Rummel Raiders, and Terrence Dunbar. Great individual effort.
And so the Raiders of Rummel answer, and it's now a 10-6 Rummel lead. It's a 80-yard touchdown run. Back with more on the WHNO High School Game of the Week. It is a 75-yard touchdown run as Terrence Dunbar lights up the stage for the Rummel Raiders and puts them on top 10-6 here with 9:33 remaining in the second quarter. As Comiskey kicks off, that one is taken by Lawrence Harvey. And the St. Aug speedster is wrapped up at the 12-yard line. As the Rummel Raiders have come to life here, Renee, in just really the last few minutes.
That was extra effort by, looked like Craig Stelz and Stephen Allen on the special teams play. Great pursuit and great coverage by the Rummel special teams play. And it's going to be a 1st and 10. 77 yards to go with the St. Augustine Purple Knights with 9:25 to go. But Doug, they've shown they got some real weapons offensively.
Let's head downstairs. Alexander Laurent with a sideline report.
What we have right now is the number 33 for Rummel, Emmerich Smith. He has a dislocated hand. His elbow is dislocated. He is out for the remainder of the game. Now, as far as Tony Villegas and the defense, they're getting confused with the dislocation in terms of how their players are running from one side to the other. Now, for example, you'll get a play where the running game is going one way, one game is going another way. they just can't seem to keep up. He said that that's the problem that they're going to be having, is that the inexperience with their defense and the experience of the offense of Rummel, the misrepresentation in terms of how the side of the ball is going to go into the other, that's what they've been working on all week. Back up to you guys.
All right, Alex, that's bad news for Rummel as they lose Smith for the game. And now 2nd and 4, Burns hooking up, and he's got Travis Lee. And they'll spot that one at the 35-yard line. And another first down for St. Aug.
Jason Burns is driving back. His hot receiver is Lee, and hit a pretty big cushion coming from the defensive back. That's Mitch Graff. Graff does make the tackle, but not before. A nice pickup for a first down by the St. Augustine offense.
So it's 1st and 10 now from their own 35-yard line. 8:37 remaining here before the half. Rummel with a 10-6 lead thanks to a 75-yard Terrence Dunbar touchdown scamper. As St. Aug going to the ground, and that's Chris Hall. And Hall picks up 5.
Boy, going off left tackle behind Terrell Nunnery. Nice block. Nunnery being looked at by Arkansas Southern Grayling and Jackson State. Big 6'4", 303-pounder, as the Rummel faithful are excited about a 10-6 lead here.
And for every good reason, they support their team very well, Renee. It's, boy, this is a school where, boy, the fans just get out and they support it. The students come to the game. A lot of spirit here. Burns on 2nd and 3, and he's going to be sacked. No, he slips out. Burns still on his feet, and he's up to the 45-yard line. That one looked like a Houdini.
Well, he broke the grasp of Lamar Mills, which is not an easy task. Lamar Mills, really the strongest on the team, and he broke his grasp. Lamar Mills takes an inside move right through the gap, shoots the gap, and gets a handful right here. Jason Burns swinging that ball around a little bit dangerously, tries to cut it upfield. Tackle made, but not before a nice pickup. Tackle made by Tony Cash of the Rummel Raiders, but Lamar Mills had him dead to right in the back, and Lamar Mills, the brother of Benny Mills, now playing for the University of Florida, sophomore guard.
3rd and 1 from their own 44. And wow, nowhere to go. Big defensive stop as Hall runs into a brick wall down there, Renee. And boy, it wasn't just one Rummel Raider.
You know, and Mills, another play by Lamar Mills. He just fills the gap, and he is, you know, he's got a 4-lift combination, 1,460 pounds between squat, bench, clean, and incline. And I tell you what, you're not going to block him one-on-one. He's beating those blocks one-on-one and really causing havoc in the backfield, kind of like a Brandon Dabdu did for the Rummel Raiders a couple of years ago.
And now Boyd to punt as he stands on his own 27. And it's blocked! It is blocked. Coming up with the play is Bernard Smith. Big special teams play from the Rummel Raiders.
And you know, special teams is such a vital part of the game. Bernard Smith coming from a gap right here. 2 players converge from the right side, and the up back can only block one of them. And Bernard Smith comes through on an inside charge, Doug, and blocked the ball, and the Rummel Raiders in pretty good field position about the 31 or 32-yard line as Prescott brings the troops up to the line of scrimmage.
And Rummel slow to start. 1st and 10 from the 32 now of St. Aug. Their offense averaging 33 points a game. As they go to the ground, as Berner with the carry, one of several players on the team who have academic scholarships at Rummel. Young men have graded very high in the classroom and gotten some financial assistance. I'll tell you, I had 2 little ones. I like to have some of that too.
Well, you know, one of the guys up front, the guy who's one of the leaders up front, Sean Villamoret, whose dad used to coach at Bonneville. Sean has perfect attendance throughout his high school career with a 3.67 grade point average. He's the center for the Rummel Raiders.
Wind is kicking up just a little bit. That's Dunbar, still on his feet, spinning and down to the 19-yard line. Dunbar has really pumped life into a Rummel offense that started very slowly, Renee.
And that was a gaping hole he ran through, created by Mirabel Villamoret and Ulrich. And I tell you what, they did not wrap him up. Collision right here with Aguilar and Terrence Dunbar. He bounces off, continues, great balance, very strong in the lower body, and nice pickup, first down for the Rummel Raiders.
As we said earlier, Jay Roth expressing his frustration that Dunbar wasn't getting a chance to do anything offensively. And now Prescott on the keeper, and Prescott's down to the 12-yard line on the 1st and 10 play. And that's going to leave second, and it looks like about 2 to go. 4:57 now remaining just before the half. Rummel with that 10-6 lead. St. Aug scored first.
Little fake dive right here and scoot around the right side. Nice block again by Mirabel, kicking out. And Prescott, who averages 5.7 yards per tote with 127 yards, go along with 2 scores, does a pretty good job with the ball tucked under his arm.
Had passed for almost 400 yards coming into this game. And now on 2nd and about 4, that's Dunbar. And Dunbar squirts through, still on his feet and down to the 1-yard line. I think I've already decided who the AAA trophy player of the game is.
Well, you know, good blocking on the corners by Chris Rappo was amongst them. And that was just a little stretch play, Doug, allowing Dunbar. Good stretch right here. Just giving the ball to Dunbar, letting him find his hole. Again, Mirabel, good block on the outside along with Rappo, allowing him to cut it up close to the goal. And boy, I tell you, he fell short. He can smell that end zone.
1st and goal to go from the 1. Prescott, Dunbar, touchdown, his 2nd of the game. Terrence Dunbar gives Rummel a 16-6 lead with 4:04 remaining here before the half.
Good surge by the offensive line, Doug, allowing Dunbar that little cavity to get into the end zone. And again, you got to credit Weibel, Mirabel, Villamoret, Ulrich, Brignac, and Gleason, who have manned the hogs, if you will, for the offensive line. But the Rummel Raiders done a great job taking control of that line of scrimmage.
Dunbar has to be over 100 yards rushing already as Comiskey comes on, and before he is able to kick, flags are thrown down on the field. And Comiskey, who earlier kicked a 43-yard field goal, a career long. Here's Bob Taylor.
Dead ball, approachment.
So that'll move it to the 2-yard line and make it a 2-yard shorter kick.
See the Rummel Raiders coming off that ball pretty good. And can't see it right here, but allowing him to get into the end zone, and that's just power football as he broke the plane. Comiskey, who is ready to kick, is also letters in wrestling, so his abilities do not lie in place kicking alone. He's also a wrestler for the Raider wrestling team.
As St. Aug was lined up in the neutral zone, and now for the cherry on top, here is Comiskey. And a low kick, but good enough. And so now it's a 17-6 Rummel lead. They have scored 17 unanswered. 4:04 remaining before the half. Back with more on the WHNO High School Game of the Week. Rummel kicks off, and that one goes out of bounds. So no return for St. Aug. Haven't had much in the way of returns tonight, Renee. We've had a blocked punt, and we've had 2 Rummel kickoffs that have gone into the end zone, and now this one kicked out of bounds.
Well, you know, Comiskey, when he kicks off, 80% of his kicks are not returned, but that's because they kicked into the end zone, not because they kicked out of bounds. It's going to be
He definitely has a very strong leg. Now, keep in mind the first 2 were downwind, and we've got some breeze here tonight. That one was into the wind as well. This game brought to you in part by Prime Equipment Company, distributors of man lifts, tower generators, scissor lifts, and more for commercial and industrial contracting. If you need a lift, call Prime Equipment Company, 348-2841. St. Aug from their own 34-yard line, 4:04 remaining. Second quarter as they trail by 11. Burns spinning, and he makes it up to about the 36.
100 even. 100 even. 6 and 7, 12 and 75.
So Burns picks up about 2 yards on the play as the clock continues to run as we approach the 3.5-minute mark. Rummel really coming to life offensively. Started very quietly, Renee, and then a young man by the name of Terrence Dunbar has injected some major life.
And he's got 100 yards since he entered the game. Of course, a lot of it was coming, 75-yard chunk of it on a touchdown jaunt, but he's done quite a game. Really picked up this offense since he's entered the contest.
And both of the touchdowns for Rummel. Burns passing. He's got Jala. And Jala, nice try, but unable to get to the first down marker. And they're about 2 yards short, where it'll be now 3rd down and 2.
And Damon Wiltz, peeling back from his weak linebacker position, makes the stop. But, you know, Jala had 3 players around him to make sure he didn't go very far. He's committed to Miami. You know, it's an interesting story, Doug. He committed to Miami because he liked Santana Moss and Reggie Wayne going in the first round. Feels like there's a future for him there. And with that 4.3 speed, 9.400, Doug, he is a threat. Boy, I tell you, Miami really is licking their chops over the potential he has.
From the 43, Burns going deep. He's looking for Jala. Great catch by Akeem Jala. Reaches up and pulls that one down with one hand, and he is shaken up on the play.
Woo. That's something you see on ESPN Sports Center. Watch this grab. This is a big league grab. Reaching behind his back, pulling it in. His momentum's going inside. Doug reaches back outside, pulls it in. May have been injured. Hope it's not a serious injury. We've already lost the services of Eric Smith for Rummel Raiders. And Jala, another marquee player in this game, has taken place on the sidelines being attended to by the physicians.
My first reaction was that he had to reach back with one hand, but on the replay you could see both hands, but boy, a lot of athletic ability to turn on a dime like that.
That's like a 360 dunk.
1st and 10 from the 28 and right through the hands of John Doucette, and it'll bring up 2nd and 10.
Good look at Doucette right there. They figure he's a better blocker than Malcolm Scott, who came through the program a few years ago, went on to LSU and eventually played for the New York Giants. But he's like a tight end, a fullback playing tight end, got some wide receiver moves. He's going to be a great catch for wherever he decides to go.
So that'll bring up 2nd and 10. From the 28, just a few ticks over 2 minutes to go here in the second quarter. St. Aug scored first on the opening drive of the game and has been very quiet since that time. Burns on the give, and that is Green Ellis. And Green Ellis spins all the way up to the 21-yard line where it'll be 3rd, and it looks like about 3 to go.
Little draw play to Ellis. Good block right there by Lawrence Eugene, allowing Green Ellis to get up the field. And, you know, he reminds you a little bit of a Leroy Horde. We talked about the strongest member of the St. Aug team, bench pressing 400, just a junior. Doug, he can power clean 225, 8 reps. He is a load if he gets a head of steam going.
Rummel with that 11-point lead as St. Aug tries to cut into it. 1:27 to go, and the give is Hall. And Hall straight ahead, just like a steamroller, as he gets the first down.
Nice tackle by Craig Stelz coming in from his strong safety position as Hall scoots up. Boy, a good head of steam on his first step, and little bear hug as he takes him to the ground, and good tackling by the defensive backfield of the Rummel Raiders.
1st and 10 for St. Aug at the 15-yard line of Rummel. This would be a very, very big score for St. Aug if they can capitalize. 1 minute and 3 seconds to go. Burns to pass. No open receiver yet. Now Jala, and it goes through his hands, and apparently Jala not seriously hurt as he's back into the lineup now.
Once again, single coverage with Nick Child, and that's a lot of confidence in Nick Child coming back and in single coverage. His responsibility is to keep Akeem Jala shut down. You know, Nick Child, a center fielder on the baseball team, pretty good athlete. He's had a couple of interceptions this year thus far. Once again, Brother Martin, one against St. Amant. And this is quite a challenge for this junior defensive back, head-to-head with Akeem Jala.
So it remains now 2nd and 10. And once again at the 15-yard line, Burns. And he'll pass again. It's Doucette. And Doucette down to the 7-yard line. That does not stop the clock as we're down to 45 seconds. Here's another look, Renee.
That's a quick fake to Green Ellis. Play action and a quick pop to Doucette. Finds a open cavity where Stelz makes the tackle.
And we've got ourselves a timeout on the field, 17-6. The Raiders of Rummel leading, and St. Aug trying to cut into that. We'll take a break. Back with more. The last 45 seconds, that is, of the first half. After this timeout, it's the WHNO High School Game of the Week.
This year, St. Augustine High School is celebrating its 50th anniversary. Throughout the year, St. Aug has been a beacon of excellence in New Orleans. St. Aug has educated 6 presidential scholars, 8 national merit scholars, and 115 national achievement scholars. St. Augustine continues to provide a quality education to its students. On October 29th at 6:30 p.m., visit St. Aug's open house and learn more about the legend of St. Aug excellence.
A big 3rd and 1 now for St. Aug. 45 seconds remaining here in the second quarter, and the Purple Knights trailing by 11. Burns at quarterback. And on the give, it is Dumas, and he is tackled, and it looks like he is short of the first down. That'll bring up 4th down. Big defensive stop by Rummel.
And that was a run blitz by Ramon Williams coming from his middle linebacker position. Not another guy's not very big, 5'5", 163 pounds. But boy, I tell you, 160 pounds of that is intense, Doug. Comes through, shoots the gap, stops the runner for a short, really Sean Dumas for not very much of a gain. And now you got under 40 seconds to go. Big decision here by the St. Augustine Purple Knights.
And then I'll bring up 4th down and 1. As we say, the ball spotted now on the 6-yard line. 38 seconds to go. As just nowhere to run.
Ramon with a nice stop. You know, Ramon is such a, he knocked an opponent out on a kickoff last year. Blocking, not tackling, blocking. He's that intense. And you know, when he gets in drills at practice, he's one of these guys that the coach has to tell him to slow it down. Some of his teammates complain because he'll blow you up at practice.
The player of the game is always sponsored by AAA Trophies, located at 3813 Florida Avenue in Kenner. See the best in championship awards. Visit AAA Trophies, 467-7384. That's their number, 467-7384. Renee, I feel like this last 38 seconds and this play right here, as St. Aug decides to go for it on 4th and 1 from the 6, could be very, very telling throughout the rest of this game. So a big 4th down try for the Purple Knights of St. Aug. Burns to throw, now he'll run, and he's got pay dirt. He's in for the score. Burns with a 6-yard touchdown run, and a big run indeed, as the Purple Knights make it 17-12.
And Jason Burns kind of freezes everyone as he looked like he was going to pass. In hot pursuit is Tony Cash, number 41, just nips the corner right here into the end zone. Momentum carried both players. It looked like Wills did try to hold up a little bit, but that was an excellent run by Jason Burns. Shows what kind of speed he has. He's a 4.5 guy, Doug, and a very cerebral guy with a 3.5 grade point average. Most of the colleges interested in him are big Ivy League schools.
So now we've got a 17-12 game, and that is a huge play from the Purple Knights of St. Aug, and they will go for the 2-point conversion. Burns passing, and he goes for Jala, and they rule it as incomplete. They say that Jala trapped it, and now we've got a ball game. 17-12 after the Purple Knights of St. Aug have come back late in the second quarter. Back with more on the WHNO High School Game of the Week.
The 2-point conversion, Doug, and Jason Burns checking off Hakeem Jala with a slant pattern, and this was very, I hate to question the officials, it's very, very close. Well, okay, that's a good call. He did grab it with his fingertips, but with help from the ground, so that was a good call by the officials.
The squib kick now is taken by Graff, and Graff tackled at the 20, and with now 26 seconds to go here before the half, I think Rummel's approach after the St. Aug touchdown has made it 17-12, has just run out the half and just get into the half with a 5-point lead.
Well, you know, they don't want to do anything. They're going to kneel down here. You're not going to see them do anything, and Prescott's going to kneel down, I'm sure. I don't think he'll even risk a handoff. There's no reason for that. We don't want I'm sure that Rummel does not want a Philadelphia Eagles New York Giant game where a handoff turned into a touchdown for the defense.
Prescott, and he does just that as he takes the knee. And unless St. Aug burns a timeout, they will head to the half. Rummel with a 17-12 lead. And indeed, that's exactly what they will do. So we'll head to half, 17-12, as the Rummel Raiders, which scored 17 unanswered points and now have seen St. Aug come back and score to make it a 5-point game as we go to the half. The WHNO High School Game of the Week is brought to you in part by the Alario Center, by Prime Equipment Company, by Coleman's Urbanware, by AAA Trophies, and St. Augustine High School, celebrating 50 years of excellence. This WHNO sports presentation, St. Aug and Rummel, as the Raiders of Rummel head to the half, up 17-12. We'll be back with more. This is the WHNO High School Game of the Week.
The WHNO High School Game of the Week is brought to you by the Alario Center, Prime Equipment Company, Coleman's Urbanware, and WHNO Sports.
It's the only game in town.
This year, St. Augustine High School is celebrating its 50th anniversary. Throughout the year, St. Aug has been a beacon of excellence in New Orleans. St. Aug has educated 6 presidential scholars, 8 National Merit Scholars, and 115 National Achievement Scholars. St. Augustine continues to provide a quality education to its students. On October 29th at 6:30 p.m., visit St. Aug's open house and learn more about the legend of St. Aug excellence.
Back for second half action, Joe Yenny Stadium, 17-12. It is Rummel with the lead. St. Aug kicking off and definitely kicking away from Terrence Dunbar. So before we describe any further action, let's hear from Rummel head coach Jay Roth.
Moving the ball, obviously, offensively, defensively, you're moving the ball. Things seem to be working.
We're working offensively right now. We're struggling a little bit on defense. You know, they're moving it pretty good too.
Okay, what do you do right now? They've got 12 points. We got another half going on. Do you change anything? Do you stay with your game plan?
Offensively, I don't think so, but defensively, we got to get it together.
Okay, good luck, Coach.
Thank you, Alexander.
All right, guys, back up to you.
All right, Alex, as we get set for second half action, Doug Ringard along with Renee Nadeau. Glad to be coming your way on a beautiful, clear, cool, breezy night here in Metairie. And on the first give, that is Dunbar. And Dunbar trying to start the second half the way he began the second quarter. He had 5 carries for 101 yards in the first half, Renee. And take a look at some of the first half stats.
Some of them kind of close, but the passing yards, St. Aug really one-sided, lopsided there. Of course, the score is in favor of the Rummel Raiders. 200 yards total offense for St. Augustine, 123 for the Rummel Raiders. All of that coming on the ground.
And of course, a big story for Rummel as well is the fact that Eric Smith, the starting running back averaging better than 170 yards per game, is out with a dislocated left elbow. And now on 2nd and 6, the give straight ahead is Dunbar, once again the ball carrier, and picks up maybe about a yard.
And that tackle made by Matthew Brown, 5'11", 280 pounds, number 99. Watch, he jams up the middle, Doug, and makes the tackle. You cannot double team this guy. He's very similar to Perry Davis, who is playing for the University of Southern University, will be in the game as we speak, I guess, getting ready to start with the Tulane Green Wave. But Matthew Brown really creates a lot of havoc, beats double, triple team every time.
Matthew Brown offered a scholarship to Nicholls State. He has played very well the last few weeks, 8 tackles against Curtis and had a sack against Jesuit last week. Dunbar once again on the carry. And now that'll bring up 4th down as the punt team comes on right now for the Raiders of Rummel.
Nice play by David Boyd, boxing in from the outside from his linebacker position. They say he's athletically very similar to Reynolds Thompson, who's now playing for the Arizona Cardinals. David Boyd, just a sophomore.
And now Jason Bernius to punt for Rummel as he stands at his own 24. Low snap, but he snatches it and kicks a high punt into the wind. Gets a nice Rummel roll, and that one will trickle down to the 27-yard line, which is where St. Aug will have its first offensive possession of the second half.
Bernius with a 65-yarder against Brother Martin last week. And the interesting thing, Doug, he was a manager for both the baseball and football teams. Decided, instead of carrying some equipment, he decided to try out for punter and done a great job for the Rummel Raiders.
WHNO High School Game of the Week brought to you in part by the Alario Center, by Prime Equipment Company, Coleman's Urbanware, AAA Trophies, and St. Augustine High School celebrating 50 years of excellence. Burns on first down and flips it back. We got a flea flicker down here. Downfield, Jala, the intended receiver, and it looks to be intercepted. No. Dropped, but an outstanding defensive effort from Nick Child as they defend the flea flicker with success.
Well, that was not real smooth. A little Jason Burns perhaps turned the wrong way, flipped it back to Harvey, and boy, he feels the heat coming from the outside as Chatelaine coming on him. He just had to release the ball and threw it over the wrong shoulder, and Nick Child almost came up with the interception as Akeem Jala had to go from offense to defense.
So now 2nd and 10 yards to go from their own 27-yard line. Burns, the 6'1", 180-pound senior. And he pitches. And on the pitch, that's Boyd. And Boyd not even getting back really to the line of scrimmage, maybe even just barely, as we now see Terrence Dunbar being tended to. Looks like a possible cramp in the left hamstring.
Well, I tell you what, that would be a serious blow. They've already lost one running back, and Terrence Dunbar has really been the straw that stirs the drink for the Rummel Raiders.
They've talked a little bit about Dunbar and cramping problems that he had. I know after he had the kickoff and punt returns, he had some cramp problems. He couldn't continue on.
Well, with the fact that he's been exclusively playing offense, it's hurt their defense a little bit because he's an all-state performer as a junior. So taking him out of the defensive lineup really hurts.
On now 3rd and 11 from the 26. And with room to spare, that's Harvey. And Harvey has the first down and just a little bit more as he gets up to the St. Aug 39-yard line.
And Harvey gives you a little different dimension. He's a scat back, Doug. You won't catch this guy from behind with 4 or 5 speed. Races through a gaping hole created on the left side by Bailey and Nunnery. And a nice tackle by Fernandez McDowell stops perhaps a long run, if not a touchdown, for Harvey.
A nice gain of 12 on the play. That'll bring up 1st and 10 from their own 39. 8:51 remaining. 3rd quarter, 17-12, St. Aug with the lead. They scored first in this game, and Rummel then rattled off 17 unanswered points before St. Aug scored again before the half. Boyd on the carry, and he is wrapped up, and a loss of about 2 on the play.
Nice run defense supplied by Terrio and Williams. 8 men in the box for the Rummel Raider defense. They were looking for a run, and that's exactly what happened. Played gap control. Nice play right here by Jance as he fills Jance Terrio as he fills from his linebacker position, gets some help from Ramon Williams, and real physical Jance Terrio, just a sophomore, 5'10", 169. And the linebackers for Rummel are not really big, Doug, but very active and pretty physical for those little mighty mites.
2nd and 10, no gain on the previous. Burns to throw. They had success early on. He's got time. Now he'll run. He'll get the first down across midfield, and he's down to the 37-yard line. A heads-up play and a gain of 22 yards for Jason Burns.
Really good decision by Jason Burns as his receivers are covered. Kind of bails out right here and takes to the run, and we reminded you as he's chased by Jeff Turner. Got that 4.5 speed. You have to respect his feet, Doug, and scoots up the field. Nice decision, cuts back, and a nice pickup, and gets St. Augustine out of trouble, gets them down inside Rummel territory. Nice first down run for St. Augustine and Jason Burns.
And certainly a timely play. Burns, a heads-up senior, completed nearly 60% of his passes last year for almost 2,000 yards in his junior year. And whistles call that play dead.
Dead ball.
And as you see the preliminary from
I would play a first down now.
Bob Taylor.
Dead ball, false start on the offense. Still first down.
You know, the thing about Jason Burns, Doug, he has been an honor roll student every year he's been at St. Augustine. And Rutgers, Bucknell, Holy Cross, Georgetown, Cornell, Dartmouth are all after him. Air Force also likes the young signal caller, and a very cerebral leader, kind of quiet guy, who's 6'1", 180. He's going to make someone a fine catch as a collegiate quarterback.
And as we said, just one of 4 returning starters on that offensive unit. Burns, and it's complete, and that's Jala. And Jala with a nice catch and a gain of about 6 yards.
Jala trying to get a lot of attention, triple coverage. Jason Burns just 2-step drop and fires. Good follow through right here. Fire into the pocket of Jala, and he can't go very far. As we said, he's surrounded by a trio of Rummel red shirt defenders. And a nice pickup for Jala. And, you know, if he's going to attract that kind of attention, that's going to open up something else. I can look for St. Augustine to go to a run or maybe go to another receiver. That's going to open up things. Maybe one of the other guys like Ryan Allen.
It was a gain of 11, actually, and it was a 2nd and 15 play. And nowhere to go for Mr. Boyd as he runs into a Rummel brick wall.
And we thought he'd go to the run, but the Rummel Raiders were equal to the challenge as Donnie Cook fought off the blocker and kept his inside arm free, which filled the gap and made the stop. And now third down, big play here for the St. Augustine Purple Knights as the clock is winding down as we approach the 6.5-minute mark, Doug, in the third quarter. St. Augustine leading, trailing by 5, 17-12 to the Rummel Raiders.
Cook, one of 4 sophomores, seeing substantial action on this Rummel defense. Burns, and boy, he is stuffed up. Jeff Turner once again leading the charge for the Raiders.
Good play by the Rummel defense. This is why when you face an option team, everyone has to play their role, and you see Cash take the running back and lets Burns go, but his fellow defenders make the stop on Burns, and now St. Augustine that have not had a lot of success kicking are going to go for it in 4th and 6.
A loss of 1 yard on the play. Green, Ellis, and Boyd are the backs behind Burns as we approach the 5.5-minute mark here in the third quarter. Burns is going to pass. Now he'll run, and he will not get the first down. He is denied after a gain of about 3 yards on the play, and Rummel will take over.
And Ramon Williams on the stop here. Watch, he is skating. He's mirroring Jason Burns. Ramon Williams, number 16, makes the stop, bumps him out of bounds, and that's what you want your linebackers to do. Peel off, skate to the sidelines. Ramon Williams with 13 stops against St. Amant, 12 against Brother Martin. Another big stop, none bigger than that, as the Raiders will take over 1st and 10 at their own 32-yard line and denies the St. Augustine Purple Knight offense of a first down opportunity.
Williams coming over from that middle linebacker position. Boy, that is that's just perfect fundamentals for a middle linebacker.
Yeah, he keeps his shoulder pad square to the line of scrimmage, Doug, and we said, you know, he's like, Rummel fans will remember back in the 70s and 80s, the Super Bees. They were not really big, but 5'5", 163 fills the hole.
This game brought to you in part by Prime Equipment Company, distributors of man lifts, tower generators, scissor lifts, and more for commercial and industrial contracting. If you need a lift, call Prime Equipment Company, 348-2841. That's 348-2841. 41.
You know, I want to say something, Doug, quickly about St. Augustine. We're talking right now as this game is being replayed. Tulane and Southern are in progress. St. Augustine has 7 players that are playing in that game for either Tulane or Southern. 6 are in the two deep depth chart, which speaks volumes. And we'll talk about some of the players that are playing in college for the St. Augustine Purple Knights.
And over the years, they have had a mountain of them. That's Dunbar as he comes back in after having his left hamstring treated.
That's Russell Russo, and Russell runs through a nice hole, a senior running back, protecting the ball, and the nice hole created by Mirabel and Weibel, and the senior running back, Russell Russo, threw a nice hole for a first down.
Okay, so I was only off by 10 digits.
I coach that young man. I know him. He's a fine player. In spite of my coaching, he became a pretty good high school player.
And 1st and 10. Once again, Rummel going to the ground. You got to think strategy-wise right now, Renee. The best thing Rummel can do is just try to play conservatively, chew up the clock as much as possible. And now Dunbar does come back into the game, so we'll look forward to seeing him as we get a look at the marching band for St. Augustine.
Marching 100. You know, the thing is that Rummel's going to have to keep the defense honest and air it out a little bit to one of their wide receivers. They're having some success via the ground, but, you know, they have to go to the air a little bit because, you know, you got to keep the defense honest.
2nd and 8 now. Prescott, the give to Dunbar. Dunbar spinning, and he makes his way up near midfield, and a gain of, looks like 2 yards. And now he looks shaken up just a bit, perhaps.
And Dunbar in a good play defensively as they keep the outside shut off as Aguilard and company and Emmett Richardson keep him shut off from the outside and keep him inside pinned in. And boy, I tell you, he's in some pain. That could be a cramp since he was experiencing cramps early on.
We're going to take ourselves a timeout. 17-12, Rummel with the lead. We'll have an update on Dunbar after we take a break on the WHNO High School Game of the Week.
This year, St. Augustine High School is celebrating its 50th anniversary. Throughout the year, St. Aug has been a beacon of excellence in New Orleans. St. Aug has educated 6 presidential scholars, 8 national merit scholars, and 115 national achievement scholars. St. Augustine continues to provide a quality education to its students. On October 29th at 6:30 p.m., visit St. Aug's open house and learn more about the legend of St. Aug excellence.
Back to the action, 3:47 remaining here, 3rd quarter. Prescott to pass for Rummel, and it's through the hands, and boy, that one was up for grabs as Darren Gogrieve, the intended receiver, and that one had interception possibilities written all over it, Renee.
Well, you know, Prescott kind of a pump and go, and Gogrieve tried to freeze that defense, and Gogrieve couldn't come down with it as he had defenders in front and behind him. You look at Terrence Dunbar as he's being attended to, probably a cramp in his calf. You know, he may be to play a little late. That's the second time he's had that problem, though.
4th and 5, that is Bernius to punt for the 2nd time. High punt. And penalty flags are thrown. That one is taken by Jareth Jones at the 20-yard line, but there are 2 penalty flags down on the field.
We picked up a clip here as one of the St. Augustine Purple Knights attempting to help the run back may have hit Rummel from behind, and I did see the clip, but unfortunately it's going to come back a little bit.
As Bob Taylor and his crew talk things over. Saw this same crew just, 2 weeks ago, Renee?
Yes. Know Bobby a long, long time, and Brian Lesh.
Clipping. Here, red captain.
They do a great job, and they're one of many, many fine crews throughout the city of New Orleans. And, you know, I think Louisiana, especially the area in New Orleans, have the best officials. Very, very fortunate that they help the game move along quickly. And we've talked about it. The best officials you hardly recognize. They do such an outstanding job, and Bob Taylor and his staff are part of that. Really, you hardly know they're there. They do an outstanding job.
So we had a clip on the defense. First down.
And in spite of Bobby owing me $5, I'm not going to Not going to say anything about, no, Bobby's a great guy, good official.
Got a timeout on the field. We'll be back. 3:28 to go, third quarter. And Rummel with a 17-12 lead on the WHNO High School Game of the Week. First and 10 from the 36 of St. Aug. And Rummel going back to the ground attack as Russo on the ball carry. And let's go downstairs. Alexander Laurent with a sideline report on Terrence Dunbar's condition.
What we have preliminarily is it looks like it is a severely sprained ankle. Number 32, Terrence Dunbar, a severely sprained ankle. That's what we have so far. They're still checking it out. We'll have some more. We'll get right back up to you guys.
Thank you, Alex, for that report. You know, if you get a chance to go back and look, you can see that he was hit from the side and his legs were pushed out from underneath him. But that's now two Rummel running backs that they will be without. It looks like the rest of the game. And once again, Russo on the carry. Just so you can see his ankle being iced right there. Smith went out early with a dislocated left elbow, we're told, and now Dunbar in the third quarter with a severely sprained ankle. Wow, that is a big jolt for the Raiders of Rummel, Renee.
Russell Russo's opportunity to shine here, and giving all he has is 5'7", 168-pound frame. The senior getting his opportunity, and he's going to try to make the most of it. St. Augustine doing a great job stringing out those end runs and filling the gaps on defense.
3rd and 11 to go. Brisket. And the give right there is Russo. And Russo up near the first down marker. Inside 2 minutes to go, third quarter.
Good running by Russo, hunting and pecking as he goes. Watch, good cut, follows the lead block right here, cuts off the lead block, breaks a tackle there, and just moving, not becoming a big target for the defensive players, and picking up a nice pickup. It's 4th and short as the Raiders are obviously going to go for it as we approach 90 seconds here in the third stanza.
It's been an exciting game. St. Aug just burst right out of the box early on, first possession, and took a 6-0 lead. Rummel then scored 17 unanswered. Russo, as they do get the first down on 4th and what looked like about 2 yards to go. So a big 4th down conversion for the Raiders of Rummel.
And credit Garrett Weibel, the LSU commitment, with a big block. He's a 3-year starter. And you know the thing he's done this year, Doug, he's beginning to finish his blocks. He's had as many as 12 pancakes this year, probably. And you know, he's playing a little bit like I don't mean eating 12 pancakes.
Oh, I was going to say, I've had 2 waffles.
Mario Loyacano, who's now playing for Kansas State, he's kind of following in his footsteps. A big guy, but getting a little bit of a mean streak. Doing a good job, Garrett Weibel.
1 for 3 on the year now on 4th down conversions, Rummel is. As, again, I think the strategy here is we're inside a minute to go third quarter. Run the ball, try to take as much time off the clock, at least for Rummel, as they try to protect a 5-point lead. This is a great battle here tonight between these Catholic League perennial powers. St. Aug's lost 2 straight, Rummel 4-0 and ranked 4th in the state. And you've got to throw records out the window when these 2 schools meet.
Well, you know, the thing is that St. Augustine lost 10 starters and 40 seniors from the 2000 edition.
Russo trying to get to the outside, penalty flag, and it looks like it's going to be a clip on Rummel.
Well, you don't want to stop the clock, but he did the best that he could. He couldn't cut it back, and credit St. Augustine stringing out that play just now and forcing him to get out of bounds, and that's exactly what it do, stop the clock with 16.6 ticks to go, Doug, and they want to get the ball. Give it to Russo right here, and Rappo attempting to block, may have grabbed a hold of Dwayne Mitchell, and good play right there by Jonathan Stelly as he bumped Russo out of bounds, stopping the clock, and the plays that he comes back.
All right, I got holding on the offense. Second down.
You know, Doug, we talked about some of the players that St. Augustine has had. Right now, since 1995, St. Augustine has put out 56 players that have gone on to college and played. 15 players from last year's team went on. And you look at Paul Irons, who's starting at Florida State, Brandon Spencer at Tulane, Michael Franklin, second-team running back at San Diego State, and we'll talk about some of the others later, but a great program, St. Augustine.
Prescott under heavy pressure, and Dwayne Mitchell, the 6'3", 228-pound senior, comes up with the sack. It's his first year, Renee, playing football. He has played in the band for 4 years. He was a drummer in the band, and gotta like the name of that tune right there as Mitchell comes up big.
Well, you know, the thing is, there's been a metamorphosis with him. Jabbar Jalouk, who's a coach with the St. Augustine Purple Knights, has taught him and done a great job. And Grambling, Texas Southern, and Nicholas State are looking at him. He's going to be a fine college player.
It's the end of the third quarter, 17-12 Rummel. Back with more on the high school game of the week on WHNO Sports. The Rummel Raider fans excited, and as their home team leading by 5, 17-12 as we start the final stanza. Doug Greengard along with Renee Nadeau as we come your way from Joe Yenny Stadium in Metairie. Beautiful night for football. Just, it feels like fall weather. 3rd and 32 yards to go for Rummel, and Prescott going deep on a rare pass, and that one intended for Nick Child as he's in on offense, but that one broken up defensively by the St. Aug defense.
And the St. Aug defense used that sideline as an extra defender, and Child, I guess with his 4.5 speed, they try to capitalize on that, but St. Augustine equal to the challenge, and great defensive play. St. Augustine has a chance to get the ball back here early in the 4th.
Bernius to punt for the 3rd time. This one downwind, and it gets a Rummel bounce before it goes out of bounds at the 14-yard line. And you can hear the boos after Mitch Graff was popped just a bit by Greg Maroney down there. And the Rummel fans wanted some type of penalty flag for a little roughhousing, I guess you might say.
You know, it's boys will be boys, Doug, and as long as the whistle blows, no blood, no foul. You know,
They say that's football.
I'm sure I'll get a phone call from somebody's mother, but
maybe you should be unlisted.
Yeah. Call me, I'm staying at Doug's house.
1st and 10 from their own 14. Jason Burns and the St. Aug Purple Knights trying to come back from a 5-point deficit. As Green Ellis on the carry. Player of the game is sponsored by AAA Trophies, located at 3813 Florida Avenue in Kenner. You can see the best in championship awards. Just visit AAA Trophies. You can also give them a call at 467-7384. That's AAA Trophies. After a gain of 1, it's 2nd and 9. From the St. Aug 15-yard line, Burns to pass, steps up, still on his feet. Burns across the 20 and down to the 25-yard line. Heads up play from Jason Burns.
That is escapability. Doug, he is bottled up. Lamar Mills had a shot at him. Tony Cash had a shot at him. Quite a few Rummel Raiders could not. Good block there. Also, Jeff Turner had a shot at him. And he continues to move forward. In hot pursuit is Matt Chatelaine. Good move right here on Nick Child, and nice pickup. 1st down, St. Augustine, as he gets him out of a big hole, moves up to the 35-yard line.
10.5 minutes to go, 4th quarter. 17-12. Rummel with the lead. Burns looking to pass. Once again on the run. And he's down to about the 28-yard line. As he gets some assistance getting back up from Bob Taylor.
You know, the thing is, Doug, he did a couple of things. Had a nice pickup, stopped the clock. He was looking for Jala. You credit the defense as Jala was well covered by McDowell. I tell you what, Doug, that was right on the line. Rummel was lucky they didn't get a flag on that.
As you see, Jay Roth, veteran coach of the Raiders of Rummel, in a nail-biter here. Rummel 4-0 and ranked 4th in the state. As you can see, Roth wanted the penalty on the play. Burns on 2nd and 7 as he throws and knocked down, or is it intercepted? Batted down, and we'll have to get a second look at that one, but the Raider defense doing a standout job on that big second down play.
And you want to get vertical right here, Doug. You want to get your hands up in the air and a nice knockdown on the outside by Chatelaine. Penalty is going to go against the Purple Knights. But you know, the thing is, the Raiders have been doing good defensively against the run, but they're a team that can play well against the pass as well. In the 2000 season against Errett tossed the ball 44 times. So this is a team that can play the run or the pass. They've seen a lot of passing, especially in the Catholic League.
All right, I got holding on the offense. Still second down.
So both teams have hurt themselves with penalties. As you see the Rummel sideline, Raiders with that slim 5-point lead after St. Aug came back right before the half to score that touchdown. And that's where we stand, 17-12, the Raiders of Rummel, who have won the last 6 meetings between these two teams. Burns on 2nd and 17, and he is sacked. Burns under heavy pressure, and what can he do but sustain the loss?
Well, I'm going to tell you, this sack could have saved the touchdown, Doug. Akeem Jala was streaking to the middle deep was open. Had Burns had chance to plant and wait for Akeem Jala to make his break with that 4.3 speed. He may have been in the open deep. That would be really tough. Ramon Williams was the tackle, and that may have been a touchdown-saving sack with the kind of ability Akeem Jala has.
Something you could not see on the broadcast, at least from watching at home. But boy, behind the scenes, that was a huge play. 3rd and 26 to go. As Harvey on the carry. And St. Aug, which came out passing early in the game, and they just have not been able to get and find receivers downfield. Burns has had some time, but the receivers have all been covered.
Yeah, they haven't. And again, Rummel, credit the Rummel defensive backs. They're single covering Akeem Jala. Of course, last time McDowell had a little help, but from Graff. But great job at the Rummel defensive backfield.
David Boyd is going to punt, and he's standing on his own 3-yard line. Rummel's going to get some excellent field position out of this one. You've got to think short punt into the wind, and bobbled just a bit, but taken by Child, and Child down the sideline. And he's in for the touchdown, but there is a penalty flag on the field.
They're going to say a block from the back of Clip is going to bring it back, Doug. And it was right near the 5-yard line as Nick Child tried to cut it back. And, you know, I'm going to tell you something. It's so tough to block with eyes in the back of your head. You know, it's like a wide receiver blocking when the running back's coming. You don't know which way he's going and try to cut, and defensive back turns a certain way and you apply the block, and it's a clip from behind. Once you've committed yourself to a block, if the defensive back turns on you, or the defensive player turns, it's going to be a clip. There's nothing you can do about it.
All right, have a clip on the red team during a return. First down. We're going to take a timeout.
And we've got a timeout on the field. Here's another look at it. A run right now as we go to break. Here's a look at the punt return called back. It resulted in a touchdown. We'll stay 17-12. Back with more in a moment on the WHNO High School Game of the Week.
WHNO High School Game of the Week is brought to you by the Ilarial Center, Prime Equipment Company, Coleman's Urban Wear, and WHNO Sports.
It's the only game in town.
And here, Renee, is another look at the play.
As Chow races down the
Dead
field
ball.
and a block
Ball
is
start.
applied.
On the offense, still first down.
Helmet in the front.
Now, we've got to assume that that is the players in question.
Yeah.
If that indeed was,
Well,
it was not a clip.
But, you got to make a quick decision on that, and we have the opportunity of watching 3 or 4 replays.
And some penalties as we try to resume action, but back-to-back penalties. That was 1st and 15, and now flags are thrown once again.
Approachment on defense. First down.
So no, instead of that one being on Rummel, which the first was, now it's St. Aug, and now we're back to 1st and 10. The ball at the 22-yard line of St. Aug. Rummel with that 17-12 lead after the punt return for a touchdown called back, and more penalty flags as we've got to assume it's St. Aug now jumping offside. So 3 straight penalties start this series.
Again, just a little...
Foul. Encroachment on the defense. Still first down.
premature movement by the interior line of St. Augustine. Kind of frustrating, and now Rummel has been afforded a 1st and 5, and St. Augustine's defense making it a little bit easier right now.
Ball on the 17, and the give is to Russo, and Russo plows his way up close to the first down. It looks like they'll spot that at the 11-yard line, and a gain of 4. Actually, a gain of 5. They give him the first down, as that one's now 1st and 10. And they'll spot it at the 12-yard line.
Nice run by Russell Russo, picking his way through the line and getting Rummel in a pretty good field position. And the clock right now, Rummel can't make that clock move any quicker, as they're going to lean on the big guys. Go to single back here.
8 minutes to go, 4th quarter. On the give, Burner. Burner inside the 10. And we'll see if that punt return called back ends up being really a major factor, or if not.
Burner just leaning forward, and boy, he's really earned this opportunity to be a fullback. Doug, he was a special teams player for the Rummel Raiders, and another one of these fine from both of these schools. 28 on the ACT, and a senior. Have a great opportunity to go to college next year.
Russo and Burner are the running backs. Prescott, and the give is Russo, and Russo down to the 5-yard line, and just a yard short of the first down.
Nice tackle made by Darren Marquez, a 6'4", 288-pound junior. Doing good, a lot of potential for that young man next year.
Jay Roth and the Rummel Raiders, 4-0 on the year, having won 15 straight regular season games. This is the first Friday night Catholic League game for Rummel in 7 years.
Unbelievable.
3rd and 4 from the 6. Russo is wrapped up as David Boyd comes in from his linebacker position and pushes Rummel back. Big defensive play there.
And a good play by Boyd, crashing in, making a stop on a run blitz. Big stop there for the St. Augustine Purple Knights defense as attempted field goal upcoming.
And Sean Comiskey, who earlier connected on a career-long 43-yard field goal, will try this one from 27 yards. It is long enough, and it's no good as he misses wide to the right, but there are penalty flags down on the field. Surprise, surprise, we've seen a lot of those. But St. August celebrating because it looks as though the penalty is on Rummel.
Illegal procedure on the offense. Penalties decline. First down.
So there you have it. 6 minutes exactly remaining here in the fourth quarter. And now St. Aug, as they'll take it at their own 20-yard line, 80 yards away from trying to take the lead in this game.
And Doug,
this game brought to you in part by Prime Equipment Company, distributors of man lifts, tower generators, scissor lifts, and more for commercial and industrial contracting. If you need a lift, call Prime Equipment Company at 348-2841. I'm sorry, Renee.
Rest assured, watch number 80 this series.
Jason Burns and St. Aug with 6 minutes to go in this game. Burns squirting through, avoiding the tacklers, and down to the 25-yard line. And Burns trying to make things happen here as we're getting down into crunch time.
Burns kind of like a quarterback draw, Doug. He just fake pumps right here, and he had his mind made up. He was going to run. That was a designed play. Breaks a tackle here, but a nice stop put on him by Ramon Williams. Another big stop by the middle middle linebacker.
I got to tell you, when I watch Jason Burns carry that ball, he just holds that thing like it's a hamburger. With just one hand. 2nd and 4 from the 26, Burns. And he's got his receiver, and that is Brandon Bailey, the 6-foot, 165-pound senior.
Hurry up offense by the St. Aug Purple Knight.
Good for the first down. 1st and 10 now from their own 30.
You know, a couple other guys, we were talking about some of the prospects St. Augustine has sent on to the next level. Matt Dorsey is the starting offensive tackle for Georgia Tech, and Brandon Smith, playing for Vanderbilt, had 5 grabs for over 150 yards against Alabama. And Matt Dorsey, they say he is the best technique they've ever seen at Georgia Tech, they've ever seen come from a high school. That's Terrence Dunbar with the ice on his ankle.
As both Rummel running backs have been sidelined here tonight. Burns on 1st and 10, going deep for Jala. And he slightly overthrows him. Jala with blazing speed. And he couldn't quite get underneath that one.
Well, he was in double coverage. They had Fernandez McDowell and Mitch Graff in double coverage on Hakeem Jala. And he just ran that seam route, Doug, and just couldn't catch up to the ball, but that's where you have to put it, let him run underneath it with that blazing speed. Hakeem Jala is someone you certainly have to be an All-American, an All-State track performer. He's got a touchdown against Douglas and one against McDonough 35, so you got to respect that speed.
Especially when he's running the C route. Is that what you said? The C route.
Seam right.
Seam. Gotcha.
Running up the seam. S-E-A-M.
Seam, gotcha. Burns is sacked on 2nd and 10 as the Rummel defense once again tees off on Burns and this time gets to him.
And St. Augustine facing 3rd and long as Jason Burns dropped back. Lamar Mills with the stop here, and Lamar Mills, 6'1", 285 pounds. San Diego State, California have both offered the defensive tackle.
I want to remind you, our next broadcast here on the WHNO High School Game of the Week is 2 weeks from now when the John Ehret Patriots take on the Buccaneers of West Jefferson, 2 o'clock on Saturday, October 13th, right here on the WHNO Game of the Week. Burns on 3rd and 15, and he is sacked. Burns under heavy pressure again, and
a blitz coming from the corner, Doug, and it looked like Ricky Francisco with a stop coming from the corner blitz. Got Jason Burns.
All right, holding on the offense. Penalties decline. 4th down.
And now I've seen yet another penalty flag thrown. Maybe perhaps it was just dropped.
It's holding in. That's going to be assessed. St. Augustine defense has to turn the trick here now as they have to relinquish the ball.
And now Boyd, who's punting from his own end zone, is going to see a heavy rush, I've got to think. He's already had one blocked here tonight. Boyd with a low punt, and this one goes out of bounds at the 42-yard line. And that's where the Raiders of Rummel will take over. They lead at 17-12, just 3:19 to go. And Renee, that was a very big, we'll talk about that in a moment after we take a break. That was a very big, decisive drive right there that ended for St. Aug. Back with more fourth quarter action at 17-12 Rummel on the high school game of the week on WHNO Sports. Back at Joe Yenny Stadium, Doug Ringard along with Renee Nadeau. 3:14 remaining here in the fourth quarter. Rummel with a 17-12 lead. And Renee, that was a very decisive, I think it's going to end up being a very decisive drive for St. Aug as they came up empty. And they really needed to march down the field.
On the offense, first down.
The illegal shift will bring it back 5 yards, but you're right, Doug, and the Rummel defense stepped up huge and kept Jason Burns and company in check and turned it over to their offense to kind of wind the clock down, and it's just a fast approaching 3 minutes.
And I think regardless of what happens, Jay Roth, the Rummel coach, is going to be not so pleased at the number of penalties. Russo on the carry as he gets across midfield to the 45. Got another timeout on the field. 17-12. Rummel with the lead. Inside 3 minutes to go. Fourth quarter. It's the high school game of the week on WHNO Sports.
The WHNO High School Game of the Week is brought to you by the Alarial Center, Prime Equipment Company, Coleman's Urban Wear, and WHNO Sports.
It's the only game in town.
St. Aug, the marching 100, hoping their team can make some music offensively and even get the ball back. 2nd and 12 on the 45 of St. Aug for Rummel. Casey Prescott flushed out of the pocket. His pass is complete, and that's Michael Russo. Russo down to the 22 where he has the first down, and time is only on Rummel's side right now.
Little rollout by Casey Prescott as he finds Russo squaring out. Prescott hits him on a square-off pass. Michael Russo cuts it back, and big catch for the 6'2", 175-pound senior wide receiver. Had 6 catches against Errett. SMU, Arkansas, Georgetown, and Harvard are among his suitors. Also a fine basketball player and 4th in the state in the high hurdles. Michael Russo, a great all-around athlete. Also National Honor Society student.
So now 1st and 10 at the 23 of St. Aug as we approach the 2-minute mark. Russo on the carry. And we do want to remind you that if you'd like a VHS copy of tonight's game or any of the WHNO high school games of the week, send a check or money order for just $25 to WHNO TV 20. 1100 Jefferson Davis Parkway, New Orleans, 70125.
You can bet the Raiders are going to stay on the ground with Prescott, Russo. In fact, Russo, the first cousin of Michael Russo, the wide receiver.
And on the carry is Burner. And Burner inside the 20. And down to about the 17-yard line. And looks like St. Aug will burn a timeout to try to stop the clock with 1:28 to go. The WHNO High School Game of the Week brought to you in part by the Ilario Center, by Prime Equipment Company, Coleman's Urbanware, by AAA Trophies, and St. Augustine High School, celebrating 50 years of excellence right here on the WHNO High School Game of the Week. Well, let's talk some strategy here, Renee. Obviously, Rummel's got things, it would seem, under control, but they do have 3rd down and 5 to go right now, and this is a big 3rd down play as they're down at the 18-yard line of St. Aug. And boy, if St. Aug gets it back, obviously they're not going to have much time, but they'll have a chance.
Well, the thing is that you can bet the Rummel Raider running backs are going to hold on to the ball with both arms wrapped around it. You know, I wouldn't be surprised to see Prescott run like a quarterback sneak or something just to move the ball forward. But they want to get a 1st down here, maintain the ball with 1:28 to go.
If not, they'll probably just run it on 4th down as well. Prescott gives to Russo. He's got the 1st down, close at least. I don't want to say that he does. And it does. No, you're right, Renee. It does not appear as though he does. He has come up short. But you got to think they're going to run another play.
Oh, yeah. And in fact, he's going to keep him. The thing that Russell Russo did do, good kickoff block right there by Burner around Russell Russo to go one-on-one with Kendall Aguilar. He stayed in bounds, and that's just what you wanted him to do. It was a measurement for 1st down. I think it's going to be a teensy bit short, but it's going to be 4th and short.
Measurement nonetheless, and some anxious moments right now. St. Aug Sherwood. It is indeed a 1st down. From our angle, it's just really hard to tell. But boy, they've got the 1st down, and Renee, I think this one's about over.
Well, you know, I've been known to be wrong, Doug. I picked the Germans in the Second World War, and I was wrong about that. You know, I tell you what, though, that was a great run, stayed in bounds, and kept the clock moving and got the 1st down.
We've got our player of the game as well, a unanimous decision up here in the booth.
I concur, yes. Young man played an outstanding game.
And a young man by the name of Terrence Dunbar, who's ended the game sidelined. But nonetheless, Rummel's offense was doing absolutely nothing. They had 14 rushing yards in the 1st quarter. Dunbar taken in from defense, and he sprung 75 yards for a touchdown and added yet another as Prescott takes a knee, and St. Aug promptly calls timeout. Don't know the timeout situation right now. We don't have that. I believe St. Aug will have one more.
Yes, they do. They have none left now. That was the last timeout. But Rummel just really, they can kneel down a couple of more times and just run the clock out. So Raiders don't even have to exchange the ball between quarterback and running back. Prescott would just kneel down twice more.
So this one is all but over, just 50 seconds. As you say, Renee, time has run out for St. Aug, which struggled offensively, came out strong in the 1st quarter, scored the first 6 points of the game on a 75-yard drive, and then scored right before the half as well, as Burns scampered for a touchdown. But it's now 3 straight losses for St. Aug, and make it 5 straight wins for the state's 4th-ranked Rummel Raiders.
Well, you know, St. Augustine came out real hot in the 1st quarter, as you mentioned, and Rummel just made some adjustments and was equal to the challenge. But St. Augustine's going to make some noise before the season is over. A tough schedule remaining with Holy Cross, De La Salle and company.
As you see, our AAA Trophy player of the game, it is Terrence Dunbar, the 5'9", 181-pound senior. had a 75-yard touchdown run and came into the game as he is all smiles. I guess the ankle's not quite as painful as it once was when he went out of the game in the third quarter.
Well, he's going to be a fine player, Doug. In fact, San Diego State, Southern Mississippi, Ole Miss, Colorado State are among his visits. Georgia Tech, Vanderbilt, Nebraska, Kansas State, and Texas A&M. He's going to be a fine defensive back athlete for one of those schools.
And I've got to be honest with you, Renee, I don't like what I'm seeing out on the field right now. We've got some things taking place, and you know, when players are taking knees, that's a bit unnecessary, to be honest.
Well, David Boyd tried to time the snap of the ball. He's a sophomore, kind of frustrated right now, and you know, St. Augustine Purple Knights will fall to 1-3, and it's very, very tough in this league.
Encroachment. Third down.
To win games and back-to-back losses in the Catholic League. It's kind of a tough pill to swallow for the St. Augustine Purple Knights.
And no additional plays needed. That's going to do it. Time is going to run out on St. Aug as Rummel ups its record to a perfect 5-0. 17-12 the final. Back with the post-game report in just a moment. Rummel with a 5-point win over the Purple Knights on the WHNO High School Game of the Week.
This year, St. Augustine High School is celebrating its 50th anniversary. Throughout the year, St. Aug has been a beacon of excellence in New Orleans. St. Aug has educated 6 presidential scholars, 8 National Merit Scholars, and 115 National Achievement Scholars. St. Augustine continues to provide a quality education to its students. On October 29th at 6:30 p.m., visit St. Aug's open house and learn more about the legend of St. Aug excellence.
Okay, guys, Coach, congratulations on the win. First of all, let me present you with the trophy for winning the game. And your player of the game is Terrence Dunbar. Unfortunately, he had the accident, rolled the ankle. What do you know about him right now? How's he doing?
I know neither of the 2 tailbacks that went down, other than that they didn't come back in, you know, and luckily we have a little depth at tailback.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about the game. Your approach, everything worked according to plan?
Not really. It was a tale of 2 halves. Offensively, it worked in the first half. Defensively, it didn't, and vice versa, you know. Offense, we didn't do much in the second half, and same for the defense in the first half. So,
at what point are you able to savor this and look ahead to the next week?
probably the bus ride home.
All right, Coach, congratulations on the win.
All right.
And thanks for being with us.
It's good to be 5-0. Yeah, I'm serious. It's good to be 5-0.
All right.
All right.
Okay, guys, back up to you.
There's Terrence Dunbar with his 75-yard run, the AAA Trophy Player of the Game. 8 carries, 107 yards. It's a final, as he is the AAA Trophy Player of the Game. For Renee Nato, Doug Greengard saying thanks for watching. It's a final. 17-12, the Rummel Raiders, a winner over the Purple Knights of St. Aug. Thanks for watching, everyone. Until next time, have a great night. So long, and God bless you all.